Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for you, and I've got a very short video for you today because I need your help. And what I would like is, I'd like to do a Q&A video. So you would have seen lots of Q&A videos that came out probably about a couple of months ago, and they're still ticking along, they're still out there. And I thought they were awesome videos. I loved watching them. I really enjoyed it. It's very interesting to learn more about the other YouTubers, to find out, you know, how they got into things, why they make certain decisions. I found it very interesting. And at the time, what I didn't want to do was just chuck in another one because people were probably getting bored of them. But I think now we've had the May painting challenge, and a lot of people have been very involved in that, and everybody been watching their progress painting along, and I think that's been a great sort of break from the Q&As, I suppose. But maybe it's time that you guys learned maybe a bit more about myself and get an opportunity to ask some questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So any questions at all, doesn't need to be necessarily about wargaming. I will answer what I can or what I want to, and if I get enough questions I'll do maybe a couple of videos, see how it goes. But it'd be really interesting to see what you guys want to know. So that's it really. So chuck the questions down below. Don't know exactly when about, so I'll do it. So you know, you've got a bit of time to think about what you want to put in there, and I look forward to hearing what you've got to ask. And I will be back soon with another video. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye bye. Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for you, and today I'm going to do my question and answers video. So thank you very much for everybody that took the time to answer my question. Got some really fab questions here, not got as many as I kind of hoped for. So you know, if there are still questions you didn't get an opportunity to put something in, or you weren't sure, then chuck in the comments for here, because if I get enough then I'll do another one. But I hope you enjoy this one. So what I'd say straight away is this is going to be a long video. I am going to answer all those questions in as much depth as I possibly can. So yeah, so get ready for it. So pause the video, go and grab yourself a cup of tea, or get your models ready to paint. Whatever you like to do to chill out, because I'm gonna take my time and go through these guys, but hopefully you find it enjoyable. So let's pretty much start at the top. So the first question I got was, and I'll put links to all the channels below, and jump over and give them a look if they've got content. But yeah, so I'll put this down, and apologies, I'm a little bit dyslexic, so if I pronounce the name of your channel wrong, or your name, I'm really sorry, it's not intentional. So, okie dokie, right. The first question I got was from Pink Eye Productions, which is Mike. Hi Mike. And Mike's question is, why the name Aceface? Cheers Mike. So, I'm surprised actually that I've been going over 2 years now and nobody has asked me this question. So yeah, so thank you for the question, Mike. It's a good one. So Aceface, before, a long time before I kind of got back into the hobby, I kind of, as a tearaway teenager stroke student, was very into my like 60s and onwards sort of indie, Britpop, mod music, and what I used to really be into, the Who, and the Jam, and one of my favourite films still is, not very sci-fi, not very so a lot of people probably that watch this video have never seen it before, but Quadrophenia. It's a really cool film, very kind of iconic, very cult classic, with all the music from it was done by the Who. And one of the characters that is in the story is the Aceface, and the Aceface is played by Sting, quite a famous musician, and the role of the Aceface is he's kind of almost like the gang leader. So he's the guy that the rest of the mods look up to. He's the kind of the ringleader, and he's got the sort of the best stuff. He's got the nicest suits and the best scooter, and yeah, he plays this kind of quite sort of cool character. But it's quite interesting because the reverse of it is he's got this kind of like public persona of being this like ultra cool slick guy, but behind the scenes he's a bellboy, and he's working he's working like as a sort of runner in a hotel, because he's only a young guy still, and you know he's actually trying to just, you know, make his way, and that's quite. I always loved that, because you know the fact, one, he's just like absolute cool guy, you know, like literally. So you know, if you'd be in a club or a disco or a dance hall, what they call them back then, you know, everyone would be like kind of watching him, because he's got all the dance moves. You know, he's absolutely slick. So you know, when I was into that sort of music, it was always a bit of a joke that I kind of like started when we were like playing like computer games or whatever. I'd always have my tag as Aceface, and it kind of stuck. A lot of my close friends I've known for years and years would deny that, just out of you know, because they wouldn't want to admit that I get called Ace from time to time. My real name's John, so again, something I don't really put on the channel very much, but yeah, but a lot of people sort of have kind of latched onto that. So Ace is very much kind of come synonymous with myself, and it's quite funny, you know. One of the funniest things was I went on Google the other day, and I actually just, you know, googled Aceface, and it was quite a proud moment when sort of scanning through the sort of your pictures is, I come up, whether it be the channel or the models or whatever, you come up in like through that sort of scan, which is awesome, because you know now I've actually got my place in the internet as the Aceface, which is always what I adhered to. So but that's that. So and hence the target symbol, because the target symbol is the mod symbol. So Aceface mod, that's kind of it. So that's, you know, that's why it was. But it's quite punchy. You're generally not going to forget it. So I kind of thought, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So that's hence Aceface. So something you've learnt there, guys. Okie dokie. And just off the back of that, Nick says, my guess is because he's so handsome, just like Aceface in the A-Team. Well, close. Not the A-Team, but you're on the right lines, Nick. Okie dokie. So we go on to the next question, which is from War Games, which is Martin McNeil. So thank you, Martin, for answering the question. My head's not with it today, guys. Sorry. Asking me a question. So his question is, red pill or blue pill? It's an interesting one. Took a lot of thought there, Mike. Martin. Took a lot of thought there, so yeah, cheers. But as I said, I'm going to give every question a full, in-depth answer. So this is a reference to another cult film, The Matrix, if you didn't know. And obviously it's from the early part of the film when, you know, the main guy, Keanu Reeves, Neo gets offered which pill he wants to take. One pill is gonna just let him carry on, oblivious to the reality, you know, and the other one will show him the truth and what reality is really like. So what pill would I take? Well, if we're just on colour, I wouldn't take a red pill, because I hate Man United, and they're always what I would call the Reds. So I'm a Leeds supporter for my sins. So straight away my reaction would be blue. But when you look into the depth of the question, I I would take the blue pill, which is the non-reality, the oblivious to it, and the living in a utopia that you believe. And the reason why I do that is because I was thinking about it the other day when I got this question, and I've got two young children, and I look at my youngest, who now is like 2 years old, and after I've had a very stressful day at work, and you know, I've got loads on, and I kind of look at her, and she's just kind of like in her own world, just absolutely just loving things, just enjoying it, just so excited about like a food tray full of strawberries, you know, which is her favourite food at the moment, you know, and it kind of made me think, actually, you know, yes, it might not be the reality, because there might be like horrible things going on in the world, but actually, wouldn't it be awesome if everybody just truly thought that things were total utopia? Because I guarantee everybody would be living longer, because everybody would just be thinking this world is fantastic, and the stresses and strains of the modern life wouldn't be there. So even though it might not be true, and it might not be a reality, and you might be oblivious or naive to what's going on, I would take the blue pill. So I don't expect you expecting that answer, were you, Martin? But there you go. So that's my answer to that. I would take the blue pill. Right, on to the next question, and this is Lanky Man 2001. So thank you very much. I know you watch a lot of the videos, seen lots of comments from yourself, so thank you very much for being a good subscriber to the channel. Really appreciate it. You've given me 3 questions, so you know, so I'll go through them. Interesting questions, actually. So the first question is, why do you choose gargoyles over termagants? Second question is, which would you prefer, a flying hive tyrant with an artifact, or a tervigan with crushing claws? And then the third question is, which is your favourite NID model and why? Okay, so let's start at the top then. So why do you choose gargoyles over termagants? Right, so this is I don't know, it's an interesting question, because I wouldn't actually choose one over the other necessarily. I tend to have gargoyles in my list because recently, not so much, but for the last sort of year or so, I've generally been playing the Skyblight formation, which depends on you having gargoyles. I then, a little bit more recently, I've been doing the Sky Tyrant Swarm, which again, you need gargoyles. So that's kind of why, you know, I've had gargoyles in the list over, say, a termagant. When I was playing in 5th, the tail end of 5th, and the beginning of 6th, I used termagants a lot more, because I used tervigans, and that essential tax of 10 termagants used to use quite heavily, and I used to quite, you know, I quite often would play lists with loads of tervigans in, so termagants were kind of a mainstay, and I have got like tons and tons of termagants because of that reason. But actually, sort of when you play gargoyles, you realise what they actually offer. Now, take away the fact that obviously we can put devourers on termagants. The gargoyles themselves, just being a basic termagant with wings, they give you quite a lot extra, because as a few Necron players that have played me know, that blinding venom from the gargoyles can really slow people down. They can actually really hold units up quite well for a long period of time, because they just keep blinding them, so they can't. So then your opponent can't hit anything, which is a really handy little tactic. Which, you know, I don't really think of very much. You've also got that kind of, you know, the fact that they've got that Hammer of Wrath as an extra hit. Yeah, it's pretty useless, but you know, if you happen to use that, it's good. The speed of them's handy. They make quite a nice shield, just because of the size of the model means you can spread them out. But if you're playing the cover game, a lot of the time people have to shoot through them, which gives you cover. So I think gargoyles, you know, they are a better unit. They do have a lot more versatility, I suppose. The good thing about termagant is obviously generally it's a troop choice, so it's super scoring, and And when you give them Devourers, they do punch quite hard, but then they get quite expensive when you give them Devourers. So, you know, ultimately that's what it is. I don't particularly like the 30 gaunt tacks anymore. I mean, if it was 10, I'd probably run them a lot more. The 30 is a bit frustrating because it means, you know, it does, when you put that together, you've got quite a sizable chunk of your army. So that's probably why. But, you know, there isn't really a kind of yes or no answer to them because they both fill very different roles. But I would say ultimately Gargoyles, that's kind of why I choose them probably more. Second question, which would you prefer, Flying Hive Tyrant with an artifact or a Tervigon with Crushing Claws? Again, interesting question. I think on this one it's pretty easy. I would take the Flying Hive Tyrant with an artifact. Generally that's not even the way that I'd necessarily take a Hive Tyrant, but for a competitive use. But I still think even if you went, so even if you sort of said, right, well I'm just going to take it as an artifact, so I'm going to take it as like a close combat type Tyrant, which I've kind of used recently, or you're going to take like a Tervigon with your Crushing Claws. I still think I'd probably take the Hive Tyrant just because of the versatility, speed element, the fact that, yeah, he's not going to shred through vehicles as easy, but, you know, he's still really, really good in combat. In fact, better in combat more of the time than the Tervigon's going to be. You know, his psychic powers, their psychic powers are actually really, really good. They're, on paper they look average, but actually they do synergise really nicely with your army, and I've enjoyed more and more using the powers of the Hive Mind. I'm surprised how much I enjoy using them and how handy they come in if they're used correctly. Tervigon as well. When I play a Tervigon, I always play a Tervigon as a defensive unit. I never ever outflank them or chuck them in a pod. I don't like that style. I know it can be effective, but for me, I much rather my Tervigon just spawning termagants when she can and sitting on an objective, hopefully with some cover, just being a pest and being quite hard to get rid of. And then if something kind of drops in, then she can kind of take care of herself. Not particularly well, but she can kind of take care of herself. That's kind of what, you know, I use my Tervigon for. So generally I won't put Crushing Claws on her. I know that it can be effective, but I would always go for a Flying Hive Tyrant over a Tervigon, sort of almost always. Which is your favourite NID model and why? That is a really, really, really hard question. It is so hard because I love so many Tyranid models, and I love just Tyranids big time. So what is my favourite? So, and I've even thought about this, and I've thought I had an idea, and I've scrubbed it, and oh, honestly, I tell you, it's a really, really difficult question. I think ultimately my favourite model is the Morlock. I absolutely love the Morlock as a miniature. Even probably more than the Forge World models. The Forge World models have that like wow factor because they're kind of huge, but the Morlock I love. You know, the Morlock when it came out, you know, was just sort of something so much bigger than pretty much any other model that GW had done at the time, particularly in a standard game. It's an insanely cool model, but I particularly like the Morlock one because I like that kind of mouth and you know, the face with the spines. It's got that kind of, it reminds me a little bit about that the kind of the dinosaur out of the original Jurassic Park with the kind of the frills, and I can kind of almost imagine the kind of Morlock as he kind of comes up, like kind of spitting venom sort of before he kind of pounces. But I do absolutely love the Morlock. I've got a special soft spot because my one was was the second model that I had for High Fleet Voro. So yeah, he's one of the originals, and I do love the model. I would say my second, and it was really, really close, is actually the the two new Brood Lords. Well, they're not the two new Brood Lords. My two newest Brood Lords, which are one which is like the Deathstorm one, and two which is the Space Hulk one. Both of them, I absolutely love them models. I've fallen in love with them. I really, really love them. But I think the Morlock just about shades it, I would say. So I hope that answers your questions from that. Right, next question from Marcus69. So thank you, Marcus. Met Marcus, had a fun game in Warhammer Mania. You played my Tau, quick 1500 points against a very elite army of Grey Knights with assassins. Yeah, it was a really fun game. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was real quick, you know, get it done. We probably finished the game in about, I don't know, under an hour and a half, I would have thought. But yeah, it was really good fun, and we're hoping that potentially in the future maybe we can have some more games. So hopefully I can take you up on that, Marcus, because that was a lot of fun. But Marcus's questions. So he says, what was your favourite model for looks, for rules, for fluff, and for all three? Right, so again, I gave this loads and loads of thought, and it's a difficult question. So let's start at the beginning. So for looks, let's go with a Morlock again, because I think ultimately that is probably my favourite. For rules, I'm going to be controversial and go off Tyranid. For rules, I absolutely love Fate Weaver. Fate Weaver, I love Fate Weaver. It's such a fun, crazy rules type character that is pretty much auto-include for all my demons lists. He's the linchpin of most sort of demon armies I do, and I almost try and like squeeze him into Chaos Space Marine armies as well, because I just love what he does to your army. But you know, I love his rules. His rule set is just epically good. Just the fact that he gets access to so many psychic powers, you kind of got like almost things to deal with every situation. The fact that he has his like cheeky re-roll that he can do every turn, that I absolutely love. The fact that he can like re-roll the you roll on the Warp Storm table is really handy. Because he has that 4-up invon, it synergizes perfectly with the Grimoire, giving him a 2-up re-rollable, which everybody hates so much. You know, so yeah, he's got such a wicked rule set. It's not very cheap, but actually for his points, he's awesome. He's awesome. And I love the fact he's such a donkey in combat, because I've had so many funny games where people will try and tie him up, and quite often they'll try and tie him up when he's got like a he's got the invon on him, so he's almost invincible. And I still remember now, I played with my buddy in doubles a couple of years ago, and we played James from Siege Studio. So yeah, we had a doubles game. We had like a Demon Alliance, and we played. It was Space Wolves and Sisters of Battle, if I can remember, and we kind of played tactical game. It was a very cat and mouse game. It was pretty heated. It was pretty good. But he kind of he brought Celestine up, kind of tanking, because she's a bit of a beast. You know, she's got a good invon. She can get up off the ground. So we targeted her. We killed her straight off the bat, and then she jumped up. She jumped up, got straight back up, and I think they knocked Fate Weaver out the sky, if I can remember rightly, and then Celestine charged Fate Weaver, and Fate Weaver was like invincible at the time, and because he had his re-roll, and they were kind of locked in combat for like the entire game, because like Fate Weaver like can't hit a bar, actually can't hit anything, and Celestine's just like hitting ridiculously like all the time, wounding him, putting loads of wounds on. But then we've got a re-rollable 2-up slave, so it was just like fluff. And the funny thing was, though, because with Fate Weaver is because he's a monstrous creature, you could do this like the smash attack, because he only gets like sort of like one attack anyway. You can just get one smash attack because it's the same, so you kind of always opt to smash with Fate Weaver because he just has like one attack. So he was hitting Fate Weaver every time with his staff, and I just get these visions of like Celestine sort of chopping bits out of him and him just kind of regenerating straight away because he's like invincible, and then he'd turn around and kind of donkey punch her, and like most of the time miss because he's so slow and old and useless, and he'd kind of go whoa, miss her. And I think it must have been turn 6, it might have even been turn 7, and eventually we hit her, bang, and then we wounded her on a 2, and then James failed his invuln save and squashed her, and it was just like that epic moment of, you know, at last. But yeah, even in his awful bits, Fate Weaver's rules are just really, really cool. So definitely Fate Weaver from a rules point of view. From a fluff point of view, from a fluff point of view, I'd probably go with like Lictors, and particularly like Death Leaper. I love their kind of fluff. I wish they were a little bit better. I mean, Death Leaper's alright, but he's not awesome. But Lictors ain't good enough, really. They do some really handy little tricks, and I like to use them as much as I can. But they're not massively competitive. So you know, but they're a decent unit. But their fluff is amazing. Their fluff is absolutely epic. I love them. Kind of like these sort of Tyranid assassins in the shadows, you know. So yeah, definitely. And then he asks, and all 3. So what is like my best overall? Wow, what a question! What a question! And I think actually, you know, so those ones fit those individual pieces. I think if you go like everything, so if you want like fluff and like your model and your the rules, it's a really difficult question to think of like one that kind of like fits like best to everything for that. It really is. It's a massive challenge. And what do I think? I think ultimately, probably go with the Flying Hive Tyrant. Just shades the Swarm Lord, because the Swarm Lord's model, if you just have it basic, obviously I converted mine, but as a basic Hive Tyrant, the Swarm Lord ain't a great model because it doesn't work as its fluff. So I suppose it's the Flying Hive Tyrant. Just because he's just such an awesome unit. He looks really, really cool. The pose that Games Workshop have done him in looks epic. We're almost bored of it now, may I say, because it's kind of, because everybody plays a Flying Hive Tyrant, plays Tyranids. You're extremely used to seeing them, and like anything, when you see something over and over again, you kind of become almost too accustomed to it, and it becomes boring. But actually, the model, if you like strip it back and look at it, the model's really epic. It's a really, really cool model. I love the fluff behind the Hive Tyrant. You know, it's just that kind of alpha leader. You know, it's really, really cool. Just, he should almost be better just from his rules, because he just, and the fact that he kind of can do everything. I love the fact that literally your Hive Tyrant is whatever you want him to be. You know, he can be that really shooty, he can be very close combat. You know, he can be just hard to kill, all sorts. So the Hive Tyrant, just a real kind of all-round great kind of character with great fluff and great rules. So I'd say overall, yeah, Hive Tyrant, particularly like a Flying Hive Tyrant, just edges the Swarm Lord. So I hope that answers your question, Marcus. Right, the next one is from, I think he's calls his name Gretchen. Gretchen? It looks like Gretchen. If it's not, sorry. It says, if God exists, then why, oh why, did he let GW release Age of Sigmar? So, very, very interesting question. Got a thumbs up. Got a thumbs up for quite a lot of them actually, but got a thumbs up for it. So I think, you know, I'll do another video on this. In fact, I've already done another video for it. I just need to put it up. Or you might have already seen it. Anyway, But I'll go into it a bit because I said I was going to go into every question in depth, so I will do. So, funny question for a start. Thank you very much. Like the humour. Age of Sigma. So actually, I think Age of Sigma's not too bad. I just think it's a very different way of playing. I feel for, you know, for fantasy players. I do play fantasy, not very often. I've got a big army. I do say it in this other video, but so I like fantasy, and I understand that it's diluted it massively, that it's giving you a rule set that is not easily workable, that's going to be almost impossible in a competitive scene, and it's kind of dumbed it down a little bit. So I get that, but hopefully it's a way of GW being able to continue to bring out really cool fantasy models, because I love them. And if you kind of believe what they're saying, is they just weren't making enough money off fantasy as its standard was, and potentially it was a choice that it would either go completely or they had to modify it just ridiculously, which is how they've done it. And I think the vision is to just get so many start-up players. I think the harsh reality is they've decided that the older players, the kind of the veterans, people who've been playing it, probably got all their miniatures. They're not really spending a lot of money. They won't, you know, they're not going to concentrate on you guys, and that's quite sad. I get that. I hope that they do something to give us a competition pack or something to make it so they've got some sort of more rules that allow us to kind of play it more balanced and structured. But you know, but at the moment, just as a standalone game, I think the rules are really streamlined. I think it's going to help people get into the game, and hopefully it's going to help carry on bringing out really cool models. I've not really read the story, kind of know end times a bit, know why it's going, and again, I don't really love the idea of the story, but again, you know, I'm not against it, and from all I'm hearing from people that have actually played it and looking at the rules themselves, they look really fun, and I think it's definitely going to be a really cool drinking game. So I'm going to try and be very positive about it. I think it's not the end of the world, but so I don't know whether that really answers your question, but that's probably the best I can do. Okay, so next I go on to Steve Down, and Steve asks, what's your favourite YouTube channel? Wow, that's such a cool question. And he says, and why? Wow. So I'm not, don't get me, I'm no Nick Beer. I don't watch anywhere near as many videos as that guy. So I often miss out on videos from fellow YouTubers, which I regret. But it's just I'm not very good at balancing everything. I very, very busy work, and I kind of a bit sporadic with when I can fit things in. I tend to focus on the stuff that I enjoy. I'll skip stuff I have no real interest in. I'll try and always give you a thumbs up. So if you guys, you know, if you're into like your scale modelling and, you know, some of the other games that I'm not keen on, War Machine, I will still give you like a thumbs up at least. I'll try and stick you a comment in, and you know, if something like is really well painted or what have you, then I'll stick around and watch it because I'm always interested. And so I try my best, but I don't watch loads and loads of content. So I tend to sort of focus in on the stuff that I really, really enjoy, and they're the ones that I kind of I really look forward to when those videos come out. So what was my favourite? So difficult, so difficult. So I think I would like to, let me just try and do a top 3 for you. Let me try and do a top 3. Top 3. It's really so difficult, so difficult. Right, okay, so let's put mini wargaming at number 3. Ultimately, like so many other people, they were one of the biggest reasons why I started doing YouTube. One of the biggest reasons why I kind of got into the hobby again, can't kind of help but stumble upon their videos. I'm a Vault member. I met Matt not long ago. Really humble, lovely guy, and it's kind of supported my want to carry on watching and supporting the guys. Just very, very genuine. I mean, maybe not as active in the community as some, but they're going to find that quite hard. With one, it's a big business they're running. It's ultimately supporting 2 people full time and a lot of other people part time as well. So ultimately, it's a big business, and you know, that's the thing with them. So I think I can't expect them to be too community based, but I think they're still trying to do their bit when they can. They've spawned lots of other cool channels from them, so you know, so like Jaded Painting, I think his name is, don't really follow him much, but and obviously like Chris, we know is amazing. Owen, I think, still does some videos. He's got his own channel, I believe. So yeah, I mean, there's loads that have kind of come out of mini wargaming as well. So I think they're really cool guys. Really dig what they're doing, and I just hope they carry on. I think they're ambassadors for the community and for the hobby. So you know, I think they definitely deserve their place at number 3. At number 2. Who do I really always like look forward to going to see? Who do I really look forward to going to see? Let me just scan through my little list. Sorry, I should really probably like edit this. You should have like a massive gap. But I'm just gonna ramble and just go with it. It is like really difficult. But you know, I think I'm gonna go with Striking Scorpion. Striking Scorpion 82. They are really enjoyable videos to watch. Really, they're great to watch. You know, I'd look forward to when they come out. I think that the presentation and the edit of them is really good. It does make a lot of mistakes, raw mistakes, but you know, it's going to happen. He plays enough of the bat rep for it almost to be impossible to not see the mistakes that are made. We probably all make a lot of mistakes, but you're going to find that unless you're like a mini wargamer, that you kind of really scrutinise your rules because you don't want to make a mistake because so many people are watching, and even them still make mistakes, but he's going to make mistakes. So I think, you know, hats off to Luke. What he does is really good. I'm not a lover of the kind of the ultimate like amount of pay channels that are arriving, so I kind of was a bit disappointed that he put the pay channel out. That may sound like conflicting because obviously I'm a Vault member for mini wargaming, but I think that's kind of to a different level, but just because it's such a big thing. But I'm not sure whether, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure whether that pleases me too much, but I think the channel itself is really slick. It's a really slick channel. His painting tutorials, when he does them, are really good. His codex reviews are very thorough. I think he is the ultimate professional at what he does, and I think, you know, you have to give that a lot of credit, and I think, you know, that puts him at number 3. At number 2. At number 1. So at number 1, the channel that I love watching most. It's just so up my street. It's just, yeah, I love the content. I love their banter. They're kind of my sort of age. You know, and that is Frontline Gaming. And the things that Frontline Gaming are doing are awesome. You know, Frontline Gaming, I mean, if you haven't already checked them out, then do check them out. They're still actually not the biggest of channels. They've still only got like 8,000 subscribers, but they do some awesome stuff. So basically, they're huge tournament organisers now. They're just they run some of the biggest tournaments in the world. But they do, so they're competitive war gamers basically that love the hobby. They're into all other games as well. They love 40k. They do like a twice weekly video on sort of up and coming stuff. They do rumours and support with list building and all sorts. But they're just very funny guys. The two of them, Frankie and Reese, they're really quite humorous. There's a lot of banter going on there. They're into their cheese. They talk about it, but they're very kind of they talk about things very plain, simple, and you know, I really think they're doing something fantastic for the hobby. They're really pushing, particularly 40k, to a new level, particularly in the US. And I think they're dedicated to what they do. They come across, you know, very relaxed and very chilled and very, you know, very laid back. But actually, what they're doing must be an awesome amount of work, because not only are they putting up a fair bit of content weekly, they are obviously doing a lot of organising of tournaments and rules and all sorts. But on top of that, they've also got their fat mats, which are kind of their boards, which are now so widespread across the world. It's ridiculous. They must be #1 at like your terrain boards, and they're awesome. I've got one that the product itself is fantastic. If you want to send me any more, guys, yeah, send me some more. No, I'm joking. I bought mine before I get any comments. But obviously, if you want to send me more, do send me more. But you know, what they do is fantastic. It is absolutely second to none. I am really trying to get out to the Las Vegas Open next year. It's one of my big aims. It's huge. I'll probably make another video on it, because I probably need some support. I might need to get my begging bowl out, and I don't really know what I can kind of do in return for that. So I'm kind of thinking, if anybody's got any ideas, then you know, get in touch with me. I'd love to hear it, because I don't really want to go down sort of too much begging, because I'm very fortunate. I can afford to buy a lot of wicked models, and I think it's unfair for me to then go turn around and ask for money. But I'd love to kind of bring this channel out and do like a proper road to the Las Vegas Open and kind of go out there. So I've not really looked into it too much. I think it's going to be February. They're looking at releasing their kind of tickets soon, I think, and the hotel and what have you. But it's kind of a bit of a dream, and I'd love to make it a reality. It's one of those things that, you know, I just think it'd be absolutely awesome. So if you think there's a way that you can help me with that, then let me know. I'd be interested to hear what you got to say. Right, okay, let's get back to my questions. I don't know whether even when I've answered that question. Yeah, so Frontline Gaming, that will be my my #1 channel I go to. So check them out. They do full-length battle reports at the moment, which are about a good couple of hours. Loads of banter, loads of drinking. Great one to watch while you're painting. Really dirty lists, a lot of competitive, broken lists almost. They try them out. They're very positive with anything that comes out, whether people are saying it's going to break the game. They're really keen to kind of prove people wrong. They're doing a really good job for the hobby, and they're really nice guys. So ultimately, they are going to get my #1, and they're my free channels. So there you go. And let's go on to the next one. So my next channel is from Mike. Why on earth do you have a name like that? Anyway, so I'm going to try and pronounce it. I'm going to give it my go. I've never given it a go before, particularly to you guys on video. So he has said it so many times on video, but his channel is called I can't do it. I can't do it, Mike. I can't do it. Sorry. But Mike, again, I met Mike. Sorry guys, door went, so had to cut that off. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I met Mike at Warhammer Mania. Really top guy, great YouTuber. So definitely check him out. Mike's question is, do you have any other hobbies other than 40k, and if so, what are they? So, let me say 40k, obviously there's other games that I'm very interested in. Play a little bit of Malifaux, don't play it as much as I'd like. I don't know enough people that play it to play it really regularly, but when I get an opportunity, do love Malifaux. The miniatures are absolutely incredible. Love playing Malifaux. I've just started getting into, if I can find it somewhere, give me 2 seconds. So I've just started getting into Relics Knights. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to manage it, because I just don't really have the time. But I love the miniatures, so we'll see whether they just sit in their box or whether they actually get made up. But yeah, they're really cool. So yeah, so as far as sort of, but if you come away from the hobby as such, which I think probably is what you're talking about, so do I have any other hobbies? Well, as I've kind of talked about in the past, I'm a bit of a collector. So I do also collect comics, particularly like Marvel comics. I love sort of X-Men is my thing. That's kind of the route that I go down. I'm in the process of trying to complete the Age of Apocalypse series. I've got about 3 or 4 comics left to go, and then that's completed. But that was, I think that was 96. That range of comics. Really cool storyline. It's kind of like an alternate X-Men universe. So it kind of breaks things right back, and if things were almost had like a different way, like a different sort of things went wrong or whatever. I'm not explaining myself very well, but it's just like an alternate timeline where like Magneto's kind of a goodie, and I suppose you could say there's elements of that in the latest X-Men film. It's kind of a bit like that. Excuse me guys, I'm going to open this window because it's getting really hot in here. Okay, I don't know whether that's any better, but we'll see. If I'm going like massively red, that's why, because it's really hot in here. But yeah, so it's a really cool storyline. I want to try and complete it way before the new next X-Men film comes out, because that's going to be an Apocalypse storyline. So I suspect all the Apocalypse comics will go up in value. Not that I want to sell them, but I want to complete it so I don't have to pay a lot of money for them when that kind of comes out. So that's kind of my thing. I love collecting comics. I love collecting stuff, full stop. I've started collecting these little guys, a little bobblehead pops, I think they're called. I've just kind of discovered them. I think they've been going a while, but just looking at the different like ranges, they've got like so many of them. So I mean, I love collecting. My missus hates it; she cannot stand it. Drives her crazy because, you know, I'm constantly collecting, and it just bungs up the house. So we've moved to a bigger house, and I'm already finding ways to fill it full of stuff that she doesn't want me to fill it with. So yeah, but I think, yeah, comics I suppose is the other one. Other than that, I don't have any sort of real kind of hobbies. I mean, the comic bit is kind of I pick up and put down, something I like doing. But other than that, you know, watch a lot of films, like probably a lot of people. So I could say drinking, but that's actually probably an exaggeration now. I'm getting old, got a family, don't go out that much, so that doesn't happen often. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Mike. Next question is from James and his stuff. So, hi Ace, what do you like about tournaments? What is the best and worst experience you've had at a tournament? Okay, so what do I like about tournaments? The best thing I like about tournaments is it gives me an opportunity to play lots of games, and it is as simple as that. Because in a tournament setting, you are forced to play 3 to 5 games, maybe even 6 games over 2 days. So it's an intense opportunity to play loads and loads of games, which ultimately is what I love, and what we all love is, well, particularly people that play a lot of games, is an opportunity to play so many games. I love playing the game. I love just sitting there, having a chat, rolling some dice, having a drink, just chilling out and having fun. And that's ultimately why, because very rarely otherwise would I get an opportunity to play that amount of games, because normally, you know, you have an evening, you have a game, or so the opportunity to maybe play 5 or 6 games over 2 days is like awesome for me, because I love to play the game. I get better the more games I play, you get more experience. So the opportunity in a tournament to play lots of games is brilliant. It's also great because generally in tournaments you're expected to have painted armies, so it's a great opportunity to see loads of fabulous armies. It gives you inspiration to get better at painting, gives you ideas on new armies, and it's a great, for me, I use it as a target point. So I'm trying to come away from that, because you do have there is the element of rush factor in there. But the great thing about a tournament is if you know you're going to a tournament and you want to bring a certain list, or you want to bring a certain thing, you've kind of almost got to get it done for that point. So it kind of gives you the opportunity, it forces you to practice more, it forces you to paint your miniatures for it. So it's a great kind of challenge and something to aim for. It's like anything, you know. So if you're a runner and you like running, if I was a runner, I would have to be like doing a marathon or doing a race, because I need something to push me forward, to challenge me. I haven't got enough self-motivation to want to just do something good just for the sake of it. I have to have a target, and tournaments give me that. So that's kind of why I love tournaments. It gives me that kind of real aim and target to either to get really good for something, to paint something up for it. That's kind of what I love about tournaments. And it is awesome to meet people. It is so fun to meet people at tournaments. I've met some of my best friends at tournaments. So, you know, and so what is my best and worst experience at a tournament? So my best experience, probably won't watch this because you're a lazy git. If you've watched it, let me know. But a good buddy of mine, Liam, who is now one of a really good close-knit group of friends that we've kind of made and almost produced our own like group. But I met this guy called Liam. I met him at a tournament at Games Workshop a good 2, maybe 3 years ago now, and I'd come up on my own. I wasn't coming up with anybody else. I wasn't meeting anyone there. I had my tyrannids, and I was coming up for a tournament, and I played Liam as my second game. And I wasn't very experienced at playing in tournaments at the time. I hadn't played in very many at all, so I still wasn't comfortable in the tournament scene, let's say. And the first game I played against a guy playing Space Marines, and I got smashed. And the guy was, to say he was a douche that's probably not fair, but he weren't the greatest player to play against, particularly as a fairly inexperienced tournament player. I didn't enjoy the game very much. I was a bit frustrated afterwards. But then the next game I played this guy called Liam, and I played his Black Templar at the time, and that was before not this codex, not the last one, but it was the last one, so it was their old codex that was kind of really outdated at the time. And Liam had put together this really quite dirty list. Give me 2 seconds, my phone's going. Sorry about that, guys, phone went. Can't even remember where I was, so let's have a look. So, yeah, I can't really remember where I was. I don't know whether I already answered your question or not. So that was kind of, yeah, so he had Black Templars. It was quite a dirty list at the time. He had like these sort of free flyers, free Space Marine flyers, and yeah, it was pretty hardcore at the time. But we actually got a draw, and it was like one of the most funniest games ever. It was just really, really entertaining. It was yeah, it was really, really fun. And then kind of afterwards we just sort of had some drinks and chilled out, and you know, we've kind of been pretty good buddies since. So so yeah, that was, I'd say without doubt, my best experience at a tournament. My worst experience at a tournament is pretty much every Sunday morning game, because I'm normally ridiculously hungover. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had some of my most challenging games on a Sunday morning, and I think they're challenging for a number of reasons. Quite often, if I have a good tournament, you get kind of the first 3 games on Saturday. If I've kind of got a win on all of those 3 games, I kind of go into the Sunday thinking 2 good games and I'm kind of in with a shout. So you come into the Saturday fairly relaxed, because you never know with 40k, because it is the game. The way it works is there is no one list that can conquer all. You're all dependent on what sort of army you draw against. Ultimately, you can get mixed match, and you're always going to have a very hard time. But after you get sort of 3 games in, and you've got 3 wins, you know you're going into the Sunday with a great opportunity to do well. So I have that, and then combine that with a Saturday night of a lot of drinking and a late night. Quite often I'll wake up on a Sunday morning, and the combination of trying to concentrate on doing well on your first game on a Sunday morning and being ridiculously hungover is not a great combination. And then you throw that in against playing potentially an opponent you don't really want to play against. So I almost laugh about it, because that Sunday morning game is always, I always find that I draw games I don't want to play. Sometimes that's my fault, sometimes that's my opponent's fault, sometimes it's a combination of the two. But I've played some people I wouldn't want to play, let's say, on a Sunday morning, and they've been by far my worst experiences of playing in a tournament. Okie dokie, right, let's go on to the next one. So now I have a question from Nick, Idic Beer. So, if you had never played in a tournament, do you think you would still be playing cheesy lists? I know you also play fun lists, of course, but did the tournament scene influence you to go cheesy? Right, okay, I'm going to come back to that question, as I just have my daughter screaming in the background that you can probably hear, so I'm going to come back to that. Right, back again. Okay, so, right, next question. What did I say? So, yeah, so, right, so Nick was saying, if you'd never played in the tournament, do you think that you would still be playing cheesy lists? I know you play fun lists, of course, but did the tourney scene influence you to go cheesy? Right, so, yes and no. So the first tournament I went to, that I brought my tyrannids to, I brought quite a balanced list to, and I did okay. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was already, I suppose, at the time the game was a bit more balanced than it is now. There were power armies, but and so Death Stars did exist, but I think, I don't know, cheesy play still existed, but not to the level that it does now. So the list I brought was kind of on the cheesy side, I suppose, but it wasn't ridiculous. And coming away from that tournament, the losses that I had, I kind of did think about it, and I thought, how can I optimise my list? So I kind of doubled my efforts and kind of put in more of the stuff that worked. And kind of that worked well, and then I kind of won my first tournament in the next tournament after that. So I think, yes, it has had a big part in being involved in tournaments, does make me kind of optimise lists without a doubt. I think I've always enjoyed, probably more than almost anything else, is playing around with lists, looking at, analysing lists in real depth, and kind of working out what each unit is going to add to what I want, and how I can sort of optimise, you know, getting the best output from a list. So I think that makes me want to play competitive lists and makes me kind of feel cheesy lists. I've always liked kind of looking at something and thinking, how can I make that the best it possibly can get? So there's something quite enjoyable about kind of going, right, so this is your army, how can you make this army work the best it possibly can? So if it's a kind of, when you say win at all costs, that sounds like you're cheating or abusing the rules, but within the letter of the rules and in the spirit of the game, how can you win at all costs? How can you make your army the best optimised? I do quite enjoy that element of the game, and I always have. So I think that the tournament scene has increased my want to play like these kind of ultra competitive, cheesy, neckbeardy lists. But I think there's ultimately something already in my play style and the way that I like to approach the game which lends itself to that. So I think, you know, it's definitely influenced, so yes, Nick, but I think ultimately there's a bit of that competitive edge that's in my character anyway that helps with that. But yeah, I mean, I think if anyone's played with me, they know that even though I play competitive lists, I quite happily let things go. I'm more than happy, even in a competition, I will I'll let people kind of, if they make a mistake, go back and change it. So I think ultimately at big GTs and serious competitive events, I'm sure I will struggle, because ultimately I play the game because I love it and because I enjoy playing with people, not to win at all costs. So, you know, if I can win with the dirty list and the player goes away that I'm playing against happy and enjoys the game, then that is always ultimately my target. So, you know, I hope that answers your question, Nick. Okay, so the next question is from Grawley's Leia. Again, probably pronounced it completely wrong, so sorry. Hey Ace, some non-hobby questions for you. TV series, YouTube or movies? Cola, beer or tea? Chocolate fast food or Sunday roast? Work, sport or hobby? What are your favourites? Okay, cool. Right, so excuse me. TV series, YouTube or movies? I would say movies still. Love watching YouTube. TV series is not so much. I find with me, I'm kind of impatient. I do watch some TV series, so obviously I love Game of Thrones. I love Falling Skies. What other ones do I really like? Oh God, I'm an absolute. My mind's gone blank. Gotham. I absolutely love Gotham. So there's a few. I like The Walking Dead, but I've stopped watching that because I'm not really into horror, and sounds sad, sounds cheesy, but I actually like a happy ending to a degree. So I just don't like the complete lack of any hope in that TV series. It's not for me. It is awesome, it's really brilliant, but when you have to spend the next hour afterwards watching comedy, cheery up stuff because you're so down after watching it, I just made the decision that it wasn't for me, so I stopped watching that after 3 seasons probably. But you know, I love Game of Thrones, it's awesome. It has elements of that kind of gore and kind of horrificness, but there's always that element of hope, I suppose, in my mind anyway. See how we go with it, but yeah. And Falling Skies I'm loving, last season at the moment, love that kind of sci-fi element of it. Gotham's cool because it has that kind of that underpinning Batman stuff in there, so I love that. But you know, TV series on the whole, don't watch loads of them. Struggle to get into some of the slower sci-fi stuff. A lot of people sort of said, "Oh, like Firefly," and some of the sort of more cult classic-y stuff. I don't, but I just find it really, really hard to get into them. If I'm honest, just me. I kind of like all the comedy stuff. I do watch a lot of comedy, just because it's like no-brainer, easy to watch. So things like The Big Bang Theory and stuff like that, it's just quite funny. I like to watch that, pick it up, put it down. So yeah, but generally TV series I'm not that bothered with on the whole. There's a few, but not massively. YouTube, I love it, obsessed by it. Probably obviously watch more YouTube than anything else, but movies are my favourite. There is nothing better than watching a big movie. I love it, I love it, love it, love it. So all the kind of Avengers stuff and all that stuff is just epic. All the comic book stuff I love. Can't wait for the new Star Wars film, so excited about that, it's going to be amazing. You know, all that I absolutely love. So I think, yeah, movies are ultimately, from a favourite thing, I love it. I can't get enough of it. But, you know. So that's that one. Cola, beer or tea? For me, tea, probably. I mean, that shows my age. It would always be beer. I don't really drink cola, I'm not really fussed with it. But beer I used to love, you know. I'm a bitter drinker, again, old man stuff. Don't like all the lager, I like all your ales and like a Guinness and things like that. I do love that, but you know, I don't really drink that much anymore. But tea I probably couldn't live without. Mainly down to my wife. She kind of almost has the stuff intravenously linked, so I get a lot of tea because she's having some. But I must admit, tea, you know, I can't live without, so I'd definitely say tea there. Chocolate, fast food or Sunday roast? Well, chocolate don't really into, again, not bothered with chocolate, doesn't fuss me in the slightest. Fast food or roast or Sunday roasts? I'm going to go with fast food. Indians and so like curry and like Chinese food I love. I might have one tonight just because I'm already thinking about it, it's exciting. I do like a Sunday roast, but I think fast food, just have a bit of a guilty pleasure for that. Awesome. Work, sport or hobby? My favourite's probably hobby. I love it, you know. Ultimately wouldn't be doing these videos if I didn't love it that much, but I do love the hobby. Sport, I don't do enough sport. I used to do a lot of sport when I was younger. Played rugby at a good level. Do like a bit of cricket and football, but ultimately I don't do much of it anymore. I'm pretty unfit these days. I need to do something about that really, but yeah, so I would say hobby, yeah, without a doubt. Work, I love my job. That sounds sad, but I really enjoy it. It's pretty hard going, but it's ultimately it pays for all this stuff, and I'm very fortunate to have a good job, so I do enjoy it. But yeah, definitely the hobby, yeah, and I think that answers your question. So, you know, thanks very much. Next, I've got 2 questions left, guys. Hang in there. Right, so I've got 33 Clay Dog. Hi Clay. Hey bro, what's your favourite sci-fi franchise? Interesting. I'm going to be really boring here. I'd say Star Wars. Star Wars, I love Star Wars. It's just Star Wars, isn't it? It's just awesome. It was a close run thing. I love Aliens and the Alien versus Predator stuff. That's wicked. Love all that. That's epic. Not really a Star Trek fan. Don't really get it. Sorry, Nick. I like the newer films, like the 2 new ones. I think they're like epically cool. I have watched some of the older films. I did used to watch Next Generation as a kid when there was like nothing on, because I'm old, and it was on a Sunday or whenever it was on, there wasn't anything else to watch. But couldn't really tell you much about it. Didn't really enjoy it that much. Sorry. Found it a bit boring, a little bit unexciting. Sorry. So yeah, not really my thing. I kind of just wanted the space fights. It's like when the spaceships started shooting at each other, that's when I got excited. Didn't happen enough. So yeah, so not really a fan. But Star Wars always I've loved the story, loved the action. You know, it's just epically cool. I love all the Star Wars, so don't knock any of the Star Wars guy. Martin McNeil, I've heard you rating. I love them all. I love the newer films that people want to write off. I love them. I think they were cool. I think they were, I wouldn't say just as good, but have a place in the Star Wars. I really do. I love them. Yeah, they're cool. And I can even deal with that awful acting by Ewan McGregor and Kristen Hayden, whatever his name is. I can deal with that. They were still cool, and I can even deal with Jar Jar Binks. So there you go. So that's hardcore. Yeah, no, I love all the Star Wars films. I could watch them all. I could watch them all over and over again. You know, some of my favourite elements actually are in the newer Star Wars films. I love the Phantom Menace. Those fight scenes were epic. First time you saw that dual lightsaber, you're like, wow, that is cool. And just the fact that they kind of got someone on that was not even an actor, just like a martial artist, you know, just it was cool, just because he just used to snarl at people. I just thought that was really cool. So yeah, love it all. Love the first time you kind of see other Jedi's fight, you know, because that again, cool. I just think that's epic. I just think they've got a real part to play in the whole 6 films. I would never write them off. I love them. I really do. So yeah, Star Wars for me every time. Big fan. Can't wait for the next one. Love it all. So yeah, definitely Star Wars. I think closely after Aliens, obviously, hence the Tyranids and what have you. So I think that answers the question. Right, next one I have Drunk1978 Banker. Right, how can I get better at building lists in a strategic sense for 40k? What are the key things to think about when approaching building an army to be successful with it on the tabletop? Right, okay, so very good question. Ultimately, the best way of building a list is building a list that you enjoy playing. That is the ultimate, most important thing. Do not build a list just because you think it's really powerful. Build a list because it's the way that you enjoy playing. That is the most important thing about list building, because it doesn't matter how powerful that list is if you're playing it wrong and it doesn't fit your gaming style. The most important thing about creating a list is finding out what type of player you are and how you like to play the game. So we all have a style, a way we like to play. You need to get close to that style and find out what units and what styles and what armies fit your style of play. Once you find that, that's your first step done. Until you find that, you will struggle no matter what you build. Yes, you can build an Eldar list which will probably still win, but you ultimately won't have fun, and then when you come against someone that knows how to play the game really well, you will come unstuck. So forget that, and what you need to do is find a style that works to you. So I'll use Martin McNeil as as an example of this. So correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but Martin generally, he kind of favours a very mobile, fast, hard-hitting army. So I've seen a couple of his sort of good lists. His newest list is Dark Eldar, and before that his speedy White Scars. So you know, they're two very mobile, fast-hitting kind of bike armies. Now I know he's probably got other lists. He'd probably say, yeah, that's just one style, but there's two lists that he's made quite in close proximity to each other, and that's because it's naturally the way his mind thinks. He wants something that hits hard, but he wants something that's very, very mobile and fast. Now you might say, well, that fits 7th edition. Well, it does, but you don't need to play in that way necessarily. Other people play maybe like more Death Stars. They play more like deep striking stuff, flying stuff. The way Martin's mind is working is he wants to play something that's kind of more bike mobile based. And I've kind of factored to say that if he wasn't a really cheesy player, you know, Eldar, sort of scatter laser type jet bikes would probably be the way his mind would work over maybe like Wraith Knights and Wraith Guard, because he just kind of almost likes that sort of speedy kind of style. But however you play, whether it's aggressive, defensive, that's your first stage. So find out what sort of player you are, and then work out what lists suit that style. That would be my first tip. You'll find that once you find that, the rest of it's easier. If you're kind of just looking at basics of building a list, you're probably going to struggle. So that would be my advice with that. And that comes to the end of my Q&A. So probably been talking about maybe an hour. So I really hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope everybody's sort of watched it and enjoyed it. Put your comments below, and if I get enough, I'll do another one, see how it goes. But again, thanks very much guys. For now, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.